Hello and welcome to Classic Vinyl Podcast and our Meet the Beatles series. I am one of your hosts, Justin, and I am once again joined in the basement studio by my co-host, Tyler.
Good day, sunshine.
That will be the first song we get into.
Oh, I'm getting ahead.
Yeah, you're getting a little ahead of yourself. But of course, last week we did side one of Revolver, and this week we're finishing out side two. And so do you want to get right into side two?
Let's just jump right in.
Side 2.
So side two opens up with, like Tyler said, Good Day Sunshine. This is a Paul McCartney song recorded on June 8th and 9th of 1966. And this is a song that was inspired by the Lovin' Spoonfuls song Daydream, which was really popular at the time. And it does feature a little honky style piano passages in it. There's a lot of historians that continue to debate whether portions were performed by Paul McCartney, George Martin, or possibly both. So on this, you've got Paul McCartney on lead vocal and bass, John Lennon and George Harrison on backing vocals, and they play those amazing hand claps. Ringo Starr on drums. We think George Martin on the piano solo. Some fans and historians rank it among the album's lighter tracks compared to the rest of the experimental tracks. And I think that could be because it's a little cleaner song, I guess you would say. I don't know how to explain it because the song's about simple happiness and optimism, which is kind of a tagline of Paul McCartney's, right?
Yeah, it's a cute little love song. And I think that this song fits with earlier Beatles stuff.
It does. It really does. And Paul apparently wrote it as a joyful celebration of beautiful weather, being in love, and enjoying life. So no problems at all. And this, to me, I assume you've heard this song before. What did you think of listening to it? Because I'm going to assume this is one you like quite well just because of the theme of it.
The theme of it, okay, so this one, I've got some mixed feelings about this one, to be honest with you. They play this one a lot on the radio, so I've heard this one probably as much as just about any other song on this. Maybe Eleanor Rigby, I've heard a little bit more.
Yellow Submarine, maybe.
Right, Yellow Submarine, yeah. But this one's right up there with Good Day Sunshine. This is what I'd say is more of like a traditional Beatles song that I am familiar with. But it's, as much as I like the individual elements of this, and I really do, I love the theme of this, I love the writing of this, I love the performance of this. As a whole put together, I'm not really digging this song. And I'm not sure if it's ear burn from, hearing it too much, which I don't think is the case because, I don't hear it that much. It's not like this is not like something like Sweet Home Alabama that just gets played to, death. This is a song that I hear every once in a while, and it's a great song. It's got a lot of things that I love about it. It's just not really my cup of tea. I've got mixed emotions saying that because I want to be honest, but at the same time, I'm going to get kicked out of this basement studio and not invited back. So I do want to please you.
You don't need to please me.
I know. And I've given up on trying a long time ago. But this song, it's got so much that's beautiful about it. This guy's in love with the girl and he is having an excellent day with her. And that's the whole message of this song. And that's kind of part of life as well. That fits, I think, with the theme of that I'm going to assign to it, even though you're going to disagree with me and probably smack me, probably squirt me with the spray bottle because I keep doing that.
Well, that's kind of the whole point of this podcast and the Meet the Beatles series and all that is I'm someone who's listened to the Beatles for 40 plus years. You're someone that's heard them for several years in passing and knows a lot of their popular songs and things like that, but you haven't really delve into their albums and their deep cuts and things like that. So a lot of this stuff you're hearing for the first time or sitting down and listening to with the purpose of truly listening to it for the first time instead of just hearing it in passing.
Yeah. And also I do need to try and break myself out of the well-worn rut that I get into of listening to the lyrics and tearing the lyrics apart and not just listening to the music and to the song and seeing where it takes me as a song. So I'm guilty on that part.
That's why I thought this song, because the lyrics would have been right down your alley.
And they are. The lyrics are right down my alley. In fact, I gave this song that chance. I listened to the music. I love the music. I love everything about this song. It's just all of it put together isn't really jingling my bells. And that, I don't even know if that's a saying, but I'm going to say that.
Well, I'm not going to be jingling any of your bells down here either.
That's fair. So that's my opinion on Good Day Sunshine. It's a really good song. It's just not something that I'm really clicking with yet. What are your thoughts about it?
I would think if someone asked me to pick out a couple songs that are out of place on this album, it would be Yellow Submarine and Good Day Sunshine. Yellow Submarine, I don't think either of them are out of place because I'm so used to them being there. And I think this song is somewhat of a palate cleanser between She Said, and Your Bird Can Sing, two very guitar tone driven songs. So I think that if you want to call it that way, it is what it is. It seems very like this could have easily been on A Hard Day's Night or Help or With the Beatles much more than it could have been on this.
Sure.
It just seems like an earlier song to me. So I guess it's good to have something a little bit different on this, because really going into these, they are quite different. Every song really is. And I've always enjoyed this song. It's just a little more on the happy side, where everything else is going into the more psychedelic, and you're seeing studio experimentation and stuff, and there's none of that on this. So a good song, but would be the one I would point to as not fitting, I guess, as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So that moves us to the next song, And Your Bird Can Sing. This is a song written by John Lennon. It was recorded on April 20th and April 26th of 1966. Final mixing done on June 6th. I guess the one thing this song features that it's really well known for is a very tight harmonized double lead guitar played by Paul McCartney and George Harrison at the same time.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and it's really, really cool. And there's a cool take of this on Anthology too, where you can hear the John and Paul especially just breaking into laughter. And that's what I love about the alternate takes and stuff, is hearing that studio stuff going on. That's something I suggest anybody go check out if you haven't. But you've got, of course, John Lennon on lead vocal and rhythm guitar, Paul McCartney on the bass and the harmony lead guitar, George Harrison on a harmony lead guitar, Ringo Starr plays drums and tambourine on this. And although historians have disagreed over who the lyrics were actually directed at, one of John's most mysterious songs in that manner, and a lot of those experts believe it's aimed at someone who thinks they know everything, but they actually don't. And we all know that kind of person. In fact, we probably are that kind of person. Yeah. That's probably me more than anything. But
oh no, I've met some of those people, Justin. You're not one of those people.
But John Lennon, like he did with a lot of songs, later dismissed it as another throwaway of his songs, and he didn't like it at all. I disagree with him completely, but it's an amazing song. I'm assuming this is another one you probably did not know, but tell me if you did know the song, and what do you think of it after listening to it this week?
Once again, you pegged me right. I was not familiar with this one. I don't even think I'd heard this one before doing this episode. This strikes me as being an anti-materialist song. Although I get what John Lennon's saying is that, so yeah, you've got the perfect life, and it's one of those songs that me and my wife, we talk about this all the time because we know several of those people who every time you're sitting around or you get a new car and they're like, oh, well, yeah, they come back the next week with an even bigger, better car, right? Or, you tell a story about all this time that you caught a fish and they tell a story about, yeah, I caught a fish that was like 10 times that big. One of those people that's just always got to one-up you.
So do you think that's what the title's referring to? Is we both got birds, but yours can sing, huh?
I guess that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of, I was out in my backyard and, we had these meadowlarks that were singing. And so I just kind of was whistling, singing to them. And next thing you know, I hear one of my neighbors over in his yard whistling to the same bird even louder than I am. And I'm like, okay, bud.
Hey, you just got to do it better than I do.
Yeah. Anything you can do, I can do better. Right?
Yeah.
It's one of those people. I don't know. I guess when I was listening to this song, I took it as just a materialist thing that, fine, you can be so proud of all your possessions and everything that you have, but you don't own me. You don't own the Beatles. You don't own people. So you live your life with all your whatever and the best of everything and thinking that you're so much better than everybody else. And that's fine, because you're not going to live with me is what I take John Lennon to be saying. And I love that message. So this song is definitely a winner for the topic, And I also throw it up there for the twin lead guitars because they are amazing. And I am just so blown away by these guys. I mean, you're watching these guys play guitar in, well, I guess I'm not watching it, I'm listening to it, but I'm listening to them play the lead guitar, and they're so riding horses that are just in perfect rhythm with each other, and they're hitting everything spot on and perfectly. I gotta say that this makes Paul McCartney an excellent guitarist for being able to match that with the perfectionism of George Harrison. So this song was beautiful. Thoroughly enjoyed listening to it. What are your thoughts, Justin?
Yeah, I love this song, and I think the number one thing about it is the guitars. I like the message in it, but the guitar-driven song and those harmonized guitars are perfect in this. I think this is what makes the U.S. version of Revolver not very good, because like I spoke last week, this is one of the songs that was left off, and this is one of the best songs on this album. Just from the musical standpoint. I mean, there's nothing super special about it that we can call out. It's just an amazing guitar-driven song. I love the tone. I love the vocal. Yeah, this is one of my favorite songs on the album. An excellent song. So that moves us to the next song, For No One. Now, this is a Paul McCartney song recorded on May 9th, 16th, and 19th of 1966. And the one thing this song features prominently is that French horn, and that's a solo performed by session musician Alan Civil. But the only two Beatles that appear on this song are Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr. You've got Paul McCartney on lead vocal, piano, clavichord, and bass, Ringo Starr on drums, tambourines, and maracas, and then, of course, Alan Civil, like I stated, on French horn. And that French horn is a really interesting instrument because it is obviously a brass instrument, but it has the ability to hit a huge note range.
Sure can.
Which is why they got it for this thing, right?
Yeah.
So this is one of the very few Beatles songs that was recorded without George Harrison or John Lennon present. Now, this is written about the end of a relationship.
Yeah.
And
were they out for a cigarette or something?
I don't know where they were. I guess they weren't needed. Neither of them knew how to play the horn. But
okay.
In the lyrics, Paul's describing the heartbreaking moment when one person still loves while the other is emotionally moved on. This is a song inspired basically by his relationship with Jane Asher and the fact that it was declining at the time. And it wouldn't be too long after this, they wouldn't be together any longer. So,
oh, what a shame.
He had Here, There, and Everywhere on side one, but by side two, he was done with her, I guess.
I guess so. Man, talk about mood swings.
Yeah. So is this a song you knew? Had you heard it before?
No, this is another new one for me. And this song's so beautiful. I love this song. This is, once again, a theme from life. That this is when the love is over, the relationship's over. They're bored with each other. There's just no love there. So, whatever she's doing herself up for, it's not for him. And he doesn't feel different towards her. Just there's no love there. There was a love. They had a great time, but now it's dead. What's really strange to me is that you have an upbeat sound in the instruments. The moment that this song talks about or sings about is when the love's gone, but nobody's mentioned it yet. So divorce is imminent, but nobody's mentioned the divorce word yet.
Well, they were just boyfriend and girlfriend, so there was no divorce, but
okay.
A divorce of the relationship anyways.
Breaking up, right? Nobody's saying we're breaking up yet. They're just, maybe they don't want to take it there yet. Maybe they don't want it to be that real yet. Definitely, she's not getting any joy from him anymore. She's not dressing up for him anymore, and he's not dressing up for her anymore.
Yeah, it's a real yo-yo in the relationship. You go back to Rubber Soul, like I think I stated on episode 1 of our Revolver episode, was when Paul wrote, I'm looking through you. Mm-hmm. He had already decided that, things had changed. And now on side 1 of Revolver, he's got Here, There, and Everywhere about her. He's in love with her again. Now we're back to For No One. This is really a yo-yo of a relationship, I guess, like all of them are.
Yeah. And he mentions also she's crying for no one. Guess she's just crying for a dead relationship.
I guess so.
It's sad. What are your thoughts on For No One?
I think it's a really pretty sounding song, even though it has dark sounding lyrics and what the meaning behind it is. I'm not into brass instruments that well, but I think the French horn in this is absolutely amazing. And for some reason it shouldn't work, but it does. I think this is one of Paul McCartney's best songs, honestly. I really do. Through all his recording history. I like this one really, really well. And
Mhm.
it doesn't have anything for me as far as I'm saying, okay, it's got amazing guitars or any of this, because none of that even in it. It's pretty much French horn is the main thing in this.
Well, and I'll tell you something that French horn does is it gives a hollowness to this. That's kind of strange because the French horn's a very full, rich sounding instrument, but it gives a hollowness, like an emptiness to it.
Yeah, it does. It kind of
Yeah.
backs up the feeling of the lyrics.
Yeah, that gas tank, it's empty.
Yeah, very good song.
Mm-hmm.
So that moves us to the next song, Dr. Robert. Now, this is a song written by John Lennon. It was recorded on April 17th of 1966. They did the mixing of it on April 19th. And this is widely believed to be just a straight out reference to a real physician.
Really?
Yeah. That rumored to give amphetamines to his patients, so he probably wasn't on the up and up as a doctor, but
Prescribing pharmaceuticals.
yeah. This is another song that was left off the original US version of the Revolvers album. You've got John Lennon on lead vocal, rhythm guitar, and harmonium, Paul McCartney on bass and backing vocals, George Harrison on lead guitar and backing vocals, Ringo Starr on drums and tambourines. I think this is a song that's one of the more, do we want to call it thinly veiled drug references of the album? I mean, he's got this doctor, making you feel good and things like that. But there's a lot of historians that are still to this day continuing to debate the exact real life identity behind Dr. Robert. Dr. Robert was my favorite character in the Beatles' Love Cirque show. We got to meet him and we really enjoyed watching him. So shout out to him wherever you're at. And I miss that show a ton. But is this a song you've heard? I would guess no.
No, I haven't.
So this week was the first you've heard this song.
Yeah, and Dr. Robert, he's not treating hysteria in the methods of the late 1800s.
No, he's not.
No, he is handing out medications.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
He's
Why
got a
not?
pen and a pad.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly the sort of thing that led to the demise of Michael Jackson, but this is kind of the early beginning of it. Do you think that this sort of practice was common before that,
I'm sure it was with celebrities.
Yeah, I guess that they would probably have their hard drugs, but they'd also have their pharmaceuticals. And I mean, with pharmaceuticals, you got drugs that are safe as long as they're prescribed in a responsible manner, right?
Yeah, so it doesn't sound like these were. They were prescribed in a recreational manner.
Exactly. So
what did you think of the song?
I think the song is a little wacky. And it's because of that drug theme. Lennon's he's in this drug period, and he's writing from the drugs. So it's this song's a little crazy for me. I wasn't really thrilled by it, but all in all, it wasn't a bad song. It was good. It's just like I don't know. I'm just not one in those drug cultures. It's kind of like country music glorifying drinking. Like, I don't know if you'll listen to much country music, but like 90% of the songs out there are all about drinking. Just not being a heavy drinker myself, it doesn't have the same allure. Not being a drug user doesn't have the same allure for me. So what are your thoughts on Dr. Robert?
I kind of get over, unlike you, I get over the subject matter of it. And for years and years, I thought Dr. Robert, I didn't even pay any mind to what it may or may not be about. It's just another one of the songs I like on the album.
You just don't even hear the lyrics. The lyrics are just an avenue to get the vocals in there.
Basically, and hear the guitars. And this is another guitar-driven song, heavily guitar-driven, and it has that beautiful tone that I love, and which is a theme throughout this album. So this is a song I absolutely adore, but that's going to be the case with every song on this album. So
it's the Beatles, right?
Yeah. And the one thing I think stands out on this one really well is when you get into the well part, the feeling fine. I love the harmonies and stuff in those sections. I think this song has some of the best harmonies on the album. So that brings us to the next song, which is the third and final George Harrison composition on this album, I Want to Tell You, written by George Harrison, recorded June 2nd and 3rd of 1966. And originally this song went under the working title Laxton's Superb. So kind of an interesting, I'm not sure what that's referring to or whatever.
Yeah, who
but
the heck is Laxton?
I would think the one thing on this song it's most well known for is that dissonant piano chord that Paul McCartney plays in it, and it just seems out of place, but because it's out of place, it's in place.
Yep.
So you've got George Harrison on the lead vocal, lead guitar, Paul McCartney on bass, the piano and backing vocals, John Lennon on backing vocals and tambourine, and Ringo Starr on drums, like always. I really think that dissonant piano chord reinforces the lyrical theme and kind of the mental frustration and communication going on this song, because this is really about George Harrison's frustration with communication. It's him having important thoughts and feelings that he can't express into any kind of words, even though he wrote a song. So I guess he is expressing it into words. This is one of George's earliest songs where he's exploring consciousness and limitations of language, I guess, if you want to call it that. But I'm guessing this is another song you haven't heard before this week.
I haven't. I had no idea that they left that note in on purpose. I figured that he kept hitting the wrong note.
Yeah, I'm sure the Beatles decided to leave that in. I think George Martin knew better to do that. I think these guys are exploring things. What did you think of I Want to Tell You?
This song starts with a fade-in guitar plucking that I hadn't really heard yet in Beatles discography, and I really liked it.
Yeah, I think it's different. I'm not big on fade-outs, but the fade-in's kind of neat.
Well, it fades in, and he's not strumming. He's sitting there plucking out the strings, right?
Yeah.
It is so beautiful to the ears. And then you get into the song, and that off note, it's just so hard on the ear. It is an excellent way of portraying this and what that does. And it's so masterfully done by leaving that note in. It conveys that message so strongly of this is what that feeling is, because he can give you exactly what he's feeling through the music. And that's what it is. It's grinding the fingernails on chalkboard. It is so bad. And yet at the same time, it's like listening to it sounds like, oh, well, they just hit the wrong key. They keep hitting that same wrong key. And so it's obviously intentional, right? But I'm like, man, they left that in. It's hard on the ears. And so this song, if I'm going to give one both a winner and a loser, Justin, it's going to be this song. This song is a winner and a loser. I hate the song, and I love the conveyance of that feeling. And then so it's done so perfectly well that I'm like, oh man, I really hate this song, but I love it too. So winner and a loser for me. What are your thoughts on I Want to Tell You?
It's a song that I probably used to dismiss a little bit, but I've enjoyed it more, I should say recently, but in the last 25 years. I should say when I was a teenager, it wasn't as big for me. But I've come to like it. And George Harrison for a lot of years was my least favorite Beatle, and I don't even know why. And now I've come to learn that I don't have a favorite Beatle or a least favorite Beatle. It's just that it never would have worked without any single one of them. And this is a good song. I think it's perfect. I think this whole album shows that George is growing to become a excellent songwriter. And it's unfortunate because as good as he's becoming, that's what's going to be a partial limitation to the Beatles continuing in the future. The egos are getting too big. But I Want to Tell You, I think the guitar is great in it. I think it sounds good. I really like that dissonant chord on the piano because it seems so off kilter, but it fits. And like a lot of things, I'm not reviewing these things when they're new. And so when I say things fit, it's because it feels like it fits. But when you've been listening to something for 40 years, of course it fits.
Yeah.
That's the way you know it as. But good song. So that brings us to the next love song, Got to Get You Into My Life. Now, this is a Paul McCartney song. It was recorded on April 7th and April 8th. It had a lot of brass overdubs done on it later in May and June of 1966. And McCartney has later stated that this was a love song, but it was a love song about his growing use of marijuana rather than a love song about a person. The sounds in it are heavily influenced by the Motown horn sounds that Paul McCartney certainly admired. You've got Paul McCartney on lead vocal and bass, John Lennon and George Harrison on backing vocals. They're not playing any instruments on this. You've got Ringo Starr on drums and tambourine. Then you've got a bunch of people playing trumpets and saxophones on here. It's a very heavily brass-driven song. It when I was saying that Paul says it's about marijuana, that was later on. A lot of Super Beatles fans have debated whether the lyrics were actually about a relationship or about marijuana, because sometimes things sound cooler further down the road. I haven't known them to back away if it was a drug song or if it wasn't. It seems like they've been pretty straightforward. So I tend to lean towards McCartney on this one, but
it is a little, it does put a question there, since it wasn't until a few years later that he started saying
but you
that.
got to realize the time you, as the Beatles, the most popular band in the world, you just couldn't say that.
Okay.
You'd want to come right out and say that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I really think this is Paul McCartney's love letter to marijuana and not a woman. It sounds like a romantic song, but he later explained that it was really about discovering cannabis and the creative freedom he felt it give him as an artist and as a person to live his life. I'm going to make a wild guess again and assume this is one you haven't heard.
Oh, no, I've heard this one plenty.
You've heard this one,
Yeah.
so see, I'm wrong. So I'm wrong this time, and that's fine. What did you think of Got to Get You Into My Life?
So this one, it is a very nice love song, a love song about marijuana. I guess it makes sense that he's singing either about a new love or a drug, because they both go to the pleasure center in the brain and release a ton of dopamine. It makes sense to me that, you know, it doesn't really matter either way. It can be about his love for marijuana that he started using, or it can be about his love for Mary Jane, who he'd started seeing, or whatever. I don't
Marijuana
care.
is also known as Mary Jane.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
They're both the one.
It's funny, you're sitting here telling me now the lyrics don't matter when they always matter to you.
Oh, they always matter to me, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to break myself of that dang habit. Yeah, good luck. That's
Yeah,
something
good
about
luck.
old dogs and new tricks. The title lyric, when he sings that every time, he is belting it out with such sincerity, and I mean, he's just practically screaming it into the microphone, and it's beautiful. It's so like convincing that, yeah, this guy is desperate for the object of his affections, whether that's weed or Wendy or whoever she is. It doesn't matter. He wants to get with that thing.
Yeah, that thing.
That thing. Yeah. This song fades out, and I'm not sure that the fade out really contributes to it, but I guess it kind of does, because this is an ongoing drive and passion for him, is getting this thing into his life. So I guess the fade out fits with this one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, a poppy love song about weed. I think the star in this song is the bass.
Mm-hmm.
The brass is okay in it, but unlike For No One with the French horn, I think the brass could have been replaced in this with heavier guitar, because that guitar solo in it has an amazing tone. It sounds great. It could have been more guitar driven, like John's songs on here. She Said, Dr. Robert, those kind of things. But I love this song. I think it's an excellent song, regardless of what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
I've always enjoyed it. It's fun to sing along to. It fits perfectly on the album. So
I think that they're just trying to do pet sounds, and that's why they're leaning away from guitar and into horns and other instruments.
So that moves us to the last song on the album, Tomorrow Never Knows. Now, this is a song written by John Lennon. It's the first song that was actually recorded for the album. It was recorded on April 6th of 1966 under the working title. It was called Mark 1. The lyrics on this thing draw heavily on a psychedelic experience. It's adapted straight from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, something that John Lennon was really into at the time. And this song is recorded all in the key of C. It's built from a stack of tape loops created by all four Beatles and mixed live by George Martin and Jeff Emmerich. You've got John Lennon as the lead vocal, does some of the tape loops and organ. Paul McCartney does bass, tape loops, and piano. George Harrison plays tambura and tape loops. Ringo Starr, drums and tape loops. And they had 5 tape loops were prepared for the recording, and it's hard to identify really any of them because they were mixed live during the session. But this is really an LSD-inspired meditation or spiritual enlightenment, if you want to call it. John really did, like I said, base much of the lyric on Timothy Leary's adaptation of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And musically, it's one of the most revolutionary recordings in rock history. And it probably doesn't seem that way now, but this was so far out of left field at the time. It was ridiculous with all the tape loops, the backwards sounds, the drum based harmony, which is what's really interesting in it. One of my favorite things is I'll tell you what my favorite television show of all time is. If you don't know, it's Mad Men.
Not the Wonder Years.
Not well.
Okay.
That's close.
That's one of your favorites from your childhood.
That's top 5. But Mad Men, without a doubt, is my favorite because I love that time. I love the decor. I love the music. I love the style, everything. But season 5 in a episode called Lady Lazarus, John Hamm, who's Don Draper, sits down and plays this record and plays this song. And it's because it's so different at the time. And from what I heard, they had to pay the Beatles something like $150,000 just to play this song on that episode. But I'm guessing that you don't know this song.
No.
What did you think of Tomorrow Never Knows after listening to it this week?
This song was very much a auditory acid trip, very psychedelic song. It's so trippy. It's all over the place. It hits you with a wall of noise.
Do you realize how different this was, especially the Beatles fans that were used to all their poppy songs, and then they come out with this?
I imagine this was very jarring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't heard this one before, and this one I struggled with. I struggled hard with it, and this is, 60 years after its release. I'm still like blown by it. Like, what the heck happened there? And I think what it is that I've heard the Beatles use the wall of noise before, and they've done it very well in later albums. This song being on the front end of it, get what they were trying to go for, but I feel like they aren't practiced enough in the medium just yet to pull it off. And so that's what was so jarring about it to me. And it's a song I struggled with. I'm going to struggle with it until I've listened to it enough, I think. It's just a one that was not melding together very well. Lyric-wise, I tried to pick up some of the lyrics. I do like what Lennon was saying, these things from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the meditations and sort of things. I like where he was going with it. I like what the Beatles will do with the wall of noise later and how they'll use it to create art, but just hitting me with a wall of noise in this one did not come across the way that I think it was intended to. And maybe it did. Maybe it was intended to knock me off my feet like that. In which case, well done, Fab Four. You've done it again. But what are your thoughts on this one, Justin?
Well, it's good we're getting close to the end of the album because it's getting pretty close to where I kick you out of the house.
Yeah.
In the studio, the basement studio. This song's exactly what it was supposed to be, and it's an auditory orgasm. It really is. If you listen to this, the best way to listen to this, I would say, is listen to it on headphones. There's a version of this that is a meshing of multiple songs that they play on the Cirque Love soundtrack, and it's amazing, especially when you hear it there if you're at the show, but to listen to this on headphones, it hits. And I think this, not only, there's 2 stars in this song, and I think it's just the incessant strumming on the C chord and everything's in C, but the drumming in this is probably one of Ringo Starr's greatest studio recordings, I think. You need to play this again, listen to it on headphones, and listen to Ringo Starr's drumming. But you got to realize this is the #1 band in the world at the time and had been for a few years. This comes out. There's nothing poppy about this. There's nothing normal about this. This is just out of left field. So I believe you're wrong when you say they didn't quite hit what they were trying to do. I think they hit exactly what they were trying to do. And if you listen to this, what they were doing in the studio, no one was doing anything even close to this. Most specifically, the most popular band in the world. So this is a song when I was an early teenager that I might have skipped on this album because it just seemed weird.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's probably one of my favorites on the album just because of the immensity of the sound. So I guess saying that for you, it's one you have to listen to over and over till you truly understand it. But I also think if we were in 1966, we'd have a whole different feeling of it. And I think a lot of people said that. What the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell? Basically your reaction.
Yeah. What is this noise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's them leading the psychedelic revolution. It's them, whatever they're taking influences from, whether it be Pet Sounds or whatever. I mean, hell, Pet Sounds had only been out a month, so it's not like they digested everything. This is them making that leap and bound towards what they're going to do with Sgt. Pepper's. But a lot of people considered Sgt. Pepper's the ultimate record, where I think this one is, in my opinion. But
Okay. This was the first song that they recorded in the session?
first song they recorded, but they left it till the last. It's
Yeah.
probably not a good song to lead off the album.
No, but I think they placed it right
Yeah.
for what they're trying to do.
Yeah, it's a song that it took me years to appreciate, but once I did appreciate it, it's when you really listen to the drumming and all the effects that they were doing, because people didn't know those effects weren't just a button like we have nowadays. I mean, they had to actually run the tape loops.
Yeah, they had to create it.
Yeah, so I think it's an amazing show of what was going on at the time, and just showing, okay, we're going to have a little avant-garde to our recording, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I'll defend this song for a long time, but I will also be the first one to say, when I first heard it, it was kind of like, as a teenager or whatever, oh man, you can't really sing to it. You can't dance to it. You can't
do much other than like put on a black turtleneck and a beret and some round sunglasses and, smear tomato soup all over the floor.
Well, something like that. But turn off the lights and listen on a good system and let that bass hit you and listen to Ringo's drums. And this is an amazing song. So that rounds out Revolver. This is an album that I really think, like I said, Ringo Starr, Tomorrow Never Knows, and I think his drumming on She Said, She Said, I think those are two of his greatest studio recordings ever. I think Paul McCartney's bass on this whole album is widely regarded as some of his finest work. I think you've got George Harrison coming into his songwriting. He wrote 3 songs on this album. Jeff Emmerich's engineering, as he took over, it includes things that they hadn't done before, with close drum miking, more powerful bass recording, a lot of tape manipulation, things like that. And like I said, you had Paperback Writer and Rain sessions overlapped into the Revolver sessions. And the funny thing is nothing off Revolver, even though the band was still playing live, nothing off Revolver was ever played live by the band, because it was recorded while they were still an active band, but their final concert took place just a few weeks after the album's release. It's kind of crazy, but do you want to get to winners and losers?
Let's talk about some winners and losers.
Winners and losers.
Okay, Tyler, however many you want to list, why don't you give me your losers on this album?
Yeah, this one's a tough one. So my losers, that's the problem, is like going over and discussing these and reviewing them. The ones that I thought were losers maybe aren't actually losers. But that's also peer pressure and my desire.
Don't be peer pressured. You tell me what your initial thoughts were and what you think. I mean, that's the whole point of this,
and
right?
then I'll face the consequences and get kicked out of the basement studio.
You're getting kicked out when we're done recording anyways, because I got to go to bed.
Yeah, me too. So Yellow Submarine, I consider to be a loser. I'm not a fan of that song. I don't really dig it. It's not something that I really... Yellow Submarine, it's a song that I know is a real popular Beatles song, but it's just never really jived with me. It's never been one that I'm like, and the funny thing is, I should love everything about it.
Yeah, that should be your song. It's your favorite Beatles singing a goofy nonsense
They're
song.
singing a dang sea shanty, for heaven's sakes, and I love sea shanties.
You just don't like being underwater.
I guess. I'm stupid that way. Tomorrow Never Knows. I put that one on as a loser because I haven't listened to it enough. The other one, Dr. Robert. I wasn't really digging Dr. Robert because of the drugs, but that honorable mention, I want to tell you, it's a loser for that chord, and it's a winner for that chord. It's a winner because for all the right reasons, but man, that chord makes it grates me so bad. Do you have any losers on this?
I don't have any losers on Revolver. I couldn't name a loser because this album just isn't complete without any of these songs.
Fair.
And that's just... coming from me. I think as a teenager, there would have been a couple losers on this. So Tyler, what are your winners on this album?
Okay. And Your Bird Can Sing is definitely a winner for me. It's kind of a weird one, but I love what's being said, and I love the message conveying. My other winners are Here, There, and Everywhere, and then also Eleanor Rigby. I love those songs, and they all have a special place in my heart now. Do you want to just list the whole album for your winners? Or what are
Well,
your winners?
obviously, I think the whole album's a winner, but if I was to, let's say, name my top 5 songs, I would say Here, There, and Everywhere, For No One, She Said, And Your Bird Can Sing, and Tomorrow Never Knows. And I guess I could keep going, but those are my favorite songs. If I was to list them in order if I liked them, those would be at the very top.
Good choices.
But it's not going to be much of a surprise what my album rating is on this thing, but you want to get the album rating?
Let's rate it.
Album rating.
Okay, listener, if this is your first episode, I will briefly explain our scale of rating to you. 10 is the best, 0 is the worst, and I put this one at a solid 7. Give me some more time, years and years of listening and digesting it, and it's going to only creep up from there. I don't anticipate this album ever going down for me. What's your, well, let's see. Do you give this one a 27?
No, I think we stick to what we're supposed to. I can't go above 10, but this is a 10.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is an album that is widely regarded by critics and historians as one of the most influential albums of all time. I think it is quite a bit different, and you have to put yourself in the time with it, but with the expanded use of steady studio techniques, tape loops, close miking, the backwards recording, I think it shaped production, and it kind of showed what was still to come, not only from other bands, but obviously the Beatles when they stepped into the studio as a full-time studio band and went in and made Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I really think this is also one of the albums that really, and Pet Sounds as well, but this album especially, that established the LP is a major work of art and something, instead of just pulling singles and things like that, I think this did it. So yeah, obviously a 10 for me. I've got several Beatles albums that are 10s, and yeah, I mean, when we do these reviews, I'm just too much of a Beatles apologist to trash anything, although there are a few Beatles songs that I don't have a problem trashing because that's what I feel of them. But so that's Revolver. We actually recorded episode 1 last week on the 60th anniversary of the release of Revolver. Complete coincidence, but it happened, so it's great. And I think it's an amazing album. Hopefully Tyler gets into it a little more. Hopefully you guys all enjoy it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can certainly email us at classicvinylpodcast@gmail.com. And once again, we've got the new Beatles podcast coming out on Wednesday, September 9th. Has to be a number 9 because of the Beatles, but it's going to be a deep dive into Beatles songs, history, culture, topics, whatever we can think about. It's going to be me and Tyler on the podcast. It'll be my son Austin will be joining us, and both me and my son Austin are lifelong Beatles fans. As you know, by listening to this podcast, Tyler is pretty new to the Beatles, and so we're introducing him, and we thought that would be a good way to give his perspective as a new fan into the Beatles.
And then slap me around for it.
Yeah, and then slap him around when he gives the wrong answers.
Because, I mean, if you've been screaming at me through your headphones or whatever you're listening to this on, I understand. Justin and Austin understand. They will be here to give you live on-air coverage of them pummeling me into submission.
that might have to happen, but we thought it'd be kind of unique to have kind of a novice Beatles listener that knows the hits, doesn't get into the deep cuts and things like that. And so it'll be an interesting where we just get together and talk about the Beatles. Yeah. That's all we're going to talk about because that's what we do anyway. So we figured we might as well record it.
And I'm just there to cause controversy.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate you taking your time to listen to us. And until next time, we'll see you later.
See ya.
Thank you so much for listening to Classic Vinyl Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Classic Vinyl Podcast for updates, and also share us with your music-loving friends.